Hey guys, and welcome to lesson 5.3. In this chapter, we will be in this lesson, I should say, we will be focusing all on this special word, or inverses. Now, the whole key to inverses, and I would make sure to write this down. An inverse is basically when you flip the x's and y's. That is the big key idea for inverses, when you flip the x's and the y's. So if we look right down here at problem 1, there's this table right here. Now, I'm going to start by just graphing what this table has. So let's draw some graph paper right here. And we're going to start with 0, -5. And then I have 1, -4. And then 2, -3. And 3, -3. And I'm actually, let's color code this a little bit, give you a little bit of extra time to get those written down. I'm going to do these ones all red. And then I'm going to label it. This is T. Okay, so that is the graph of this table right here. Just graphed out like you've done since 7th grade, x, y, plotted and graphed. Now, we're going to graph the inverse of T. And I'm going to do this one green so you can follow along with it a little better. And remember, inverses just mean that you flip the x's and the y's. So I'm going to take the x's and the y's and I'm going to flip them. So all that means is I'm going to take these points and flip them. So now the 0, the 1, the 2, and the 3 are on the bottom. And the -5, -4, -3, -3 are on the top. And now I can graph them just like I did before, except you'll notice my points are different now. So instead of graphing 0, -5, I'm now graphing -5, 0, which would be over there. And I can do the same thing with all of them. So -4, 1, -4, 1, -3, 2, -3, 2, and then -3, 3, -3, 3. So, oops, that line wasn't very straight. Let's try that again and connect these. There we go. And I'm going to call this one T inverse. Ta-da! So there we go. That's your first introduction to inverses. It's just the idea of flipping the x's and the y's. That's the whole key to inverses. Now, I do also want to talk about this question right here, B. This should actually be a review right here. This question of, is it a function? If you remember back from like 7th, 8th grade, in order for something to be a function, it needs to pass. So does it pass the vertical line test, which I'm just going to shorten to VLT. The vertical line test means if I draw a vertical line, it only crosses the graph once. If it ever crosses the graph more than once, it's not a function. It doesn't work. So let's start by looking at T, the red one right here, this red graph. So if I look at this red graph and I draw all these vertical lines right here, I can draw any vertical line I want. And I notice that as I'm drawing these vertical lines, it is only crossing the graph once. So that means, is it a function? Yes. Woohoo! Okay, now let's look at the inverse. Is the inverse a function? So same thing, but now we're looking at the green one. So does it pass the vertical line test? So let's look at the green one, draw some vertical lines. Uh-oh. Right there. That is crossing the graph more than once, which means that does not pass the vertical line test. So the inverse is not a function. So now that we've talked about what an inverse is, and we've also talked about the vertical line test and how to find out if it's a function, that is all we need for this first video. In the second video, we're going to talk about these graphs a little bit more because they have a very special relationship, and you'll have a problem on your homework and skill check that talks about that.